and gentlemen, let me grab your attention right now. Not with a whisper, not with a gentle nudge, but with a roar straight to your soul. This is not just a speech. This is the conversation your future self has been begging you to have. Right now, today, this very moment. Because the truth is this, your life can pivot in a second, in one decision, in one brave moment of truth where you stop making excuses, stop settling, stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to become everything you were born to be. This life-changing conversation starts with a question. Are you done living below your potential? Be honest. How many times have you felt the pull inside you like a fire flickering in your chest, screaming, there's more for me? More love, more purpose, more power, more life. But here's the problem. Most people don't live, they exist. They walk through their days half awake, numbed by routine, dulled by fear, distracted by comfort. And the tragedy, they call it normal. But you're not here to be normal. Ken, you are here to be unforgettable, to be unshakable, to become the kind of person who doesn't just adapt to life, but transforms. Let's cut through the noise. Success isn't reserved for the lucky. Greatness isn't genetic. Fulfillment doesn't come wrapped in convenience. It comes to those who decide. Decide to stop being a prisoner of your past. Decide to rewrite the rules of your story. Decide that fear is no longer your master. You are. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing it anyway, shaking, sweating, doubting, and doing it anyway. You want change? Stop waiting for the perfect time. There is no perfect time. There is only now, and now is screaming for your attention. Right now, you are standing at a crossroads. One path. Familiar, comfortable, predictable. But it leads nowhere new. The other path, uncertain, demanding, unforgiving. But it leads to a future that will make your past jealous. So here's your wake-up call. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Stand up and decide. Decide to live with purpose. Decide to train your mind like a warrior, your heart like a leader, your body like a temple. Decide to raise your standards so high that average people get dizzy just trying to keep up. And don't do it just for you. Do it for the people who look up to you. Do it for the person you were before the world told you to shrink. Do it for the future. That's watching and waiting to be claimed. Because this isn't just a speech, this is a turning point. This is the moment you draw the line in the sand and say, it ends here. The doubt, the excuses, the fear. And it starts now, my rise, my power, my breakthrough. So what are you going to do? Will you walk away with goosebumps or will you walk away with a decision? Get up. Step in. Own your power. Because this is your life-changing conversation. And the world is waiting for you to answer. Your entire life can pivot in a single powerful moment. One decision, just one, can rewrite your story, redirect your path, and redefine who you are. We tend to believe change happens gradually, in tiny steps over long periods of time, but that's only part of the truth. The deeper truth is that transformation begins with a single decision, a moment when you finally say, enough is enough. I'm not living like this anymore. Think about the moments in your life that stand out, the moments that shaped who you are. Were they long, drawn-out processes, or were they flashes of clarity, sudden bursts of truth, moments that hit you in the chest like lightning and demanded you move? Maybe it was the moment you walked away from something toxic, the moment you dared to speak your truth, the moment you committed to a dream no one else believed in. That's the power of decision. You don't need all the answers before you take that step. You don't need the entire plan laid out. You don't need permission, validation, or even confidence. All you need is the decision to change. The rest follows. Clarity comes with movement, not before it. People wait for the perfect moment to decide. But the perfect moment doesn't exist. What exists is now and your ability to choose better, to choose you. This decision isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it doesn't look like fireworks. It looks like a quiet resolve, a whisper in your soul that says, I'm done shrinking. I'm done doubting. I'm done surviving. And in that stillness, you rise. That moment of decision becomes the spark that ignites everything else. This is the part where your life begins to change, not from outside circumstances, but from within. Because when you decide, you shift something deep inside you. You start carrying yourself differently. You start thinking differently. You begin to align your actions with your new identity. You stop entertaining options that no longer serve you. You start choosing what fuels you over what drains you. And people notice. Opportunities show up. Life starts reflecting your inner transformation. The truth is, most people never make a true decision. They wish, they hope, they try, but trying is not deciding. Hoping is not deciding. A decision is final. A decision has energy behind it. A decision slams the door shut on the past and opens a new one into your future. It's not, I'll see how it goes. It's, I'm doing this no matter what. And when you make that kind of decision, real, gut level, no turning back decision, you don't just change your habits. You change your identity. You become someone new, someone stronger, someone more alive. Your energy shifts, and that shift creates ripples across every part of your life. You begin to attract what you used to chase. You start commanding the room instead of blending into it. You no longer negotiate with mediocrity because you've decided that your life is worth more than that. There's a before and after with every great decision, a line in the sand, and when you cross that line, the old version of you doesn't come with you. You leave behind the excuses, the blame, the waiting. You step into personal power. You step into full ownership. You become the cause of your life, not the effect. All of that, every ounce of it, starts with one moment of truth, one moment of courage, one decision. Comfort is seductive. It whispers to you, telling you that you're fine where you are, that things aren't that bad, that you should be grateful for what you've got and not push too hard. And it sounds reasonable. It sounds safe. It feels warm, familiar, predictable. But comfort is a cage decorated nicely, perhaps, with routines and justifications, but a cage nonetheless. It keeps you stuck, playing small, watching from the sidelines while life passes by. Growth, transformation, greatness, none of these things live inside your comfort zone. They demand something different. They demand that you stretch, stumble, face your fears, and step into uncertainty with nothing but belief and grit. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you reinforce limitation. You tell your nervous system, this is all I can handle. And so your world shrinks. Your dreams shrink. Your energy shrinks. And without even realizing it, you begin to tolerate things that once would have made you uncomfortable. Low standards, broken promises to yourself, relationships that drain instead of uplift. You become numb, not because you lack desire, but because you've buried it under layers of convenience and avoidance. The longer you stay in that place, the more you forget what you're really capable of. But here's what most people don't realize. Growth isn't this abstract concept. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, it only grows when you challenge it, when you apply pressure, when you push beyond your current limits. That means doing things that scare you. It means waking up earlier when your body wants to sleep. It means having the uncomfortable conversation, going to the gym when you don't feel like it, saying no when it would be easier to say yes. It means trading short-term comfort for long-term strength. It means embracing discomfort as proof that you're moving in the right direction. Nothing meaningful was ever created in comfort. No legacy was built from a couch. Every breakthrough, every transformation, every life that ever shifted from average to extraordinary did so because someone was willing to endure the growing pains. Pain is not the enemy. Boredom is, stagnation is, settling is. The pain of pushing yourself is the pain of becoming something more, and that pain will pass. But the pride that follows, the inner fire, the power, the clarity that stays with you forever. Comfort creates habits, and habits shape destiny. If your habits are built around comfort, avoiding pain, staying in routine, sticking with what you know, then your life will reflect that. Safe, predictable, limited. But when you disrupt that pattern, when you make a new choice, when you lean into the unknown and say, I'm going to do this anyway, everything starts to shift. You gain confidence not by reading about it, but by earning it, by stepping into situations where failure is possible, but choosing to show up with courage anyway. That's where the transformation happens. Not in books, not in podcasts, not in inspiration, but in action, in movement, in the places that challenge your ego and stretch your soul. There is a part of you that is wild, hungry, capable of more than you've ever imagined. But that part doesn't live in safety. It lives in the stretch, in the push, in the friction between who you are and who you're becoming. That's the battleground. That's where you meet yourself. And every time you choose that place over the numbness of comfort, you awaken something ancient and powerful inside you. A drive, a clarity, a raw truth that says, I was made for more than this. Comfort may feel good in the moment, but it comes at a cost, the cost of your potential, your progress, your power. And over time, that cost becomes unbearable. You are not your past. No matter what's happened, no matter what mistakes you've made, no matter what's been done to you or what you've allowed, it does not define who you are right now. The past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. Too many people carry their past around like a badge, or worse, a chain, dragging it with them into every decision, every relationship, every opportunity. They wear it like armor, thinking it protects them, when in reality, it's only weighing them down, keeping them from moving forward with strength and purpose. Your past is not your identity. It's a chapter, not the whole book. And it doesn't matter how long you've lived in that story, whether it's a story of failure, pain, regret, or limitation, you have the power to close that chapter and write a new one. That's what makes us human, the ability to choose, to change, to rise above. You may have been hurt. You may have made choices you're not proud of. You may have been stuck in patterns that sabotaged your potential. But none of that determines what happens next unless you let it. The moment you understand that you are not the sum of your past experiences, you free yourself to become the architect of your future. People will try to define you by your history because that's what they know, but their perception is not your truth. They don't know the battles you fought, the growth that's happened silently in the dark, the lessons that transformed you on the inside. They see the surface, but you live the depth, and only you know how far you've come. Don't let their limited view shrink your vision. Don't allow someone else's version of your story to become your final draft. What you've been through might explain you, but it doesn't excuse you from responsibility for who you choose to be now. Yes, your past may have shaped your mindset, your habits, even your beliefs, but the power to shift all of that lives within you, right here, right now. You get to draw a line and say, that version of me got me here, but it won't take me further. You get to let go of the labels, the quitter, the failure, the one who always messes things up. Those are not facts. Those are moments, and moments don't define you. What you do next does. Growth begins when you stop reliving the old story and start creating a new one. When you stop telling yourself that you're broken, unworthy, or too far gone, because you're not. You're here, you're breathing. And as long as you're still in the game, the past has no power unless you give it permission. People heal, people rise, people reinvent themselves every single day. You don't need a new year, a new place, or a new relationship. You need a new standard for what you allow into your life and what you believe about who you are. Stop replaying what went wrong. Start rehearsing who you're becoming. It's not about denying your past. It's about transforming your relationship with it. Look at it with clarity. Take the lessons and leave the shame. Look at the person you were with compassion, but do not keep shrinking into them out of guilt or fear. You are not obligated to carry old pain just because you're familiar with it. You are not bound to your old patterns just because they're comfortable. Growth demands that you shed the skin of who you used to be so you can step fully into who you were meant to become. The past has no access to your present unless you open the door. Every day you wake up is a fresh opportunity to choose differently, to act with more intention, to move with more purpose. You don't need to erase the past. You just need to stop letting it steer the wheel. What you tolerate becomes your reality. Your standards, the invisible rules you live by, are shaping your life more than you realize. Every result you currently have in your life, whether it's your health, your income, your relationships, or your level of happiness, is a reflection of the standards you've accepted. If you want to elevate your life, you must first elevate what you expect of yourself. It starts not with changing the world around you, but with changing what you're no longer willing to settle for. The truth is, we don't get what we wish for. We get what we tolerate. If you tolerate lateness, you'll be surrounded by people who show up whenever they feel like it. If you tolerate disrespect, you'll attract people who walk all over you. If you tolerate low energy, negative thoughts, weak habits, you'll create an environment that feeds mediocrity. And eventually you'll start to believe that mediocrity is normal. But it's not. It's a choice, a pattern, and it can be broken the moment you decide you're done accepting anything less than your full potential. Raising your standards doesn't mean striving for perfection. It means refusing to stay in situations, behaviors, and mindsets that insult your soul. It means drawing a new line in the sand and saying, this is who I am now, and I will not dip below this level again. That declaration doesn't require applause. It doesn't require support. It only requires one thing: commitment. The kind of commitment that doesn't bend just because things get hard, because they will get hard. Growth demands resistance. Elevating your life isn't about comfort. It's about conviction. Look at the areas of your life that frustrate you. Where do you feel stuck, drained, or unfulfilled? Now ask yourself honestly, what have you been tolerating there? Maybe it's the way you speak to yourself, words soaked in criticism instead of encouragement. Maybe it's the habits you keep making excuses for, the ones you know are stealing your energy and confidence. Maybe it's the people around you who bring chaos instead of clarity, who dim your light instead of fueling it. Raising your standards means saying no more, not because you think you're better than others, but because you finally realize you're meant for more than a life half lived. The power of raised standards is that they force everything around you to either rise with you or fall away. When you operate from a higher level, the people, choices, and opportunities that no longer align with that level begin to disappear. And that's a good thing. It's not loss, it's alignment. It's not rejection, it's redirection. You stop chasing validation from people who aren't walking your path. You stop negotiating your worth for temporary comfort. You become magnetic, not because you're louder or flashier, but because your energy speaks before you do. This shift begins internally. The moment you decide you won't keep hitting the snooze button on your goals. The moment you choose discipline over distraction. The moment you set boundaries not just with others, but with yourself. So change in how you show up to your life every single day. And slowly, consistently, that internal shift begins to reflect externally. You feel stronger, clearer, more focused. People notice, and you start to trust yourself again because your actions finally match your ambition. You were never meant to live a life of just getting by. You were built to rise, to lead, to shine with intensity. But that kind of life doesn't happen by default. It happens by design. And design begins with standards. What are you no longer available for? What are you committed to embodying no matter what? These are not small questions. These are the questions that redefine your identity. When you raise your standards, you don't just change what you do, you change who you are. Everyone feels fear. It's a universal experience, part of being human. But what separates those who rise from those who stay stuck is how they respond to it. Fear doesn't disappear when you achieve success, reach your goals, or gain more knowledge. In fact, the more you grow, the more fear tends to show up. It evolves, it adapts, it finds new ways to test your resolve. The secret isn't to wait for the fear to go away, it's to move forward in spite of it. Courage isn't some magical absence of fear. Courage is action in the presence of it. It's standing on shaking legs and deciding to take the next step anyway. So many people wait to feel ready before they take action. They wait to be confident. They wait until it feels safe. But if you wait for fear to leave, you'll be waiting your whole life. Fear is not the enemy. It's the signal that you're standing on the edge of growth. It's the feeling that tells you this matters, that this is the moment where you could become more than you've ever been before. The mistake is in believing that fear means stop. Fear means pay attention, not retreat. It means there's something here worth leaning into, something that will stretch you, sharpen you, elevate you. Fear lives in your mind, but so does the choice to act. You get to decide who's in control, the part of you that plays small or the part of you that was born to rise. When you feel fear, you're often imagining worst-case scenarios, failure, embarrassment, rejection. But those are just thoughts. They're not reality. Reality is shaped by your action, not by your imagination. You can feel terrified and still take the step. You can be uncertain and still show up. That's power. That's ownership. And every time you act through fear, you build self-trust. You prove to yourself that you don't need perfect conditions to move forward. You prove that you're stronger than the story in your head. This is the reason some people achieve incredible things. Not because they had no fear, but because they didn't let fear have the final word. They felt the same trembling, the same doubt, the same hesitation, but they took the leap. They made the call. They stood on the stage. They started the business. They walked away from the toxic relationship. And in doing so, they redefined their relationship with fear. They stopped seeing it as a stop sign and started using it as fuel. Fear can shrink you or shape you. It depends on what you do with it. If you run from it, it grows. It gains strength. It becomes the lens through which you see every opportunity. But if you face it, if you challenge it, if you step directly into it, it starts to lose its grip. You realize fear is loud but weak. It yells to get your attention, but it has no real power unless you hand it the rein. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being deeply afraid and doing it anyway. It's about stepping into the unknown without all the answers and trusting that you'll figure it out as you go. It's about choosing growth over comfort, even when everything inside you is screaming to turn back. And with each courageous act, something inside you shifts. You expand. Your capacity increases, You become the kind of person who doesn't wait for life to be easy or perfect. You meet it on your terms, with fire in your heart and purpose in your step. The more you practice this kind of courage, the more natural it becomes. Fear will still show up, but it won't control you. You'll start to recognize it as part of the process. A sign that you're alive, that you're in motion, that you're not hiding from life. You're engaging with it fully, unapologetically, and without conditions. And that is where real power begins to rise. Motivation is powerful. It's the spark that lights the fire, the emotional surge that makes you feel like you can take on the world. But motivation alone isn't enough. It fades. It wears off. What truly matters is what you do with it. Inspiration without execution is just noise. A great idea without action is just potential wasted. Feeling fired up is a gift, but if you don't channel that energy into movement, it turns into frustration. The difference between people who change their lives and those who don't isn't how motivated they feel, it's how quickly they act on that motivation. When something moves you, you have a window, an opening where your mind is awake, your heart is open, and you can see the version of yourself that you want to become. But that window doesn't stay open forever. It closes the moment you hesitate too long. Doubt creeps in. Excuses start whispering. Old habits reappear. And before you know it, that spark is dimmed and you've settled back into your routine. That's why urgency matters. That's why acting now, even imperfectly, matters. Because when emotion meets execution, that's where transformation begins. The mind is wired for safety, not success. It wants to keep you comfortable, protected, and out of danger. So when you feel the motivation to do something bold, start a project, make a change, speak your truth, you've got to move before your mind talks you out of it. Momentum is everything. A single, small action in the direction of your goal generates more energy than 1,000 perfect plans in your head. You don't need to be certain. You don't need to have the whole picture. You just need to begin. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can, because waiting until you're ready is just another form of procrastination. Action creates clarity. It creates confidence. It builds resilience. People often think they need to feel confident before they act, but it's the action that produces the confidence, not the other way around. You'll never feel fully prepared to take the leap. You'll never have zero fear. But courage is a muscle, and every time you use it, every time you take action despite uncertainty, it grows. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to believe that you can handle what comes. You begin to rewire your identity from someone who hesitates to someone who executes. We live in a world flooded with information. You can watch endless videos, read all the books, listen to every podcast, and still be stuck in the same place a year from now. Why? Because knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is. Motivation is meant to get you moving, not keep you entertained. Every powerful message, every emotional breakthrough, every goal-setting session, it's meant to push you toward the one thing that changes everything. Action. Whether that's sending the email, signing up for the class, having a difficult conversation, or just waking up tomorrow and doing what you said you would, it all matters. The action doesn't need to be huge. It just needs to happen. Your transformation won't come from what you learn. It will come from what you do with what you learn. There are people out there with half your knowledge, half your talent, half your resources living the life you want. Why? Because they move, they act, they take messy steps, they fall, they adapt, they keep going. And in doing so, they grow stronger, faster, and more fearless. Motivation is a signal from your higher self, a glimpse of who you're capable of becoming. But if you don't act on it, you're rejecting that version of you. You're saying, I'm inspired, but not committed. But every time you do take action, you cast a vote for your future self. You build momentum. You gather evidence that says, I'm the kind of person who follows through. And that identity, that belief is what transforms your life from the inside out.